Uh-huh.
You don't have any of those quite ready yet. It's a lot of definitions to start, unfortunately, but we'll get into some problems here in a moment. So the again, I'll just start out with two parallel lines cut by a transversal, and we're first going to talk about what are called alternate interior angles. I'm sure you heard that in class today.
Mm-hmm.
So angle 1 and angle 2 are considered alternate interior angles, and they are congruent. So alternate interior angles, you can write to yourself, are always congruent. Now, notice that they're in the interior region of this, but they're on opposite here. They alternate. They literally alternate over the transversal, but they're in the interior. So similarly, 3 and 4, they are also alternate interior angles, and they're also congruent. So the instructor expects you to know this, probably something you saw in class from your notes, like you have to know this really well. So there are a few more that I'll cover. If you already know this or have it down, I'll move on, but let me know when you're, if you've got this down or if I can move on yet.
I got it.
Okay. So again, more things here. So we're going to go with corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are congruent. All right, so let me again draw two parallel lines cut by a transversal. So angle 1 and angle 2 are corresponding. So what corresponding means, like to me, what it means is relative to, where I'm going to put this red dot, these two red dots, they're in the same place relative to that red dot. They're sort of top right and top right. And corresponding angles are congruent, which means that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Now there's a bunch more, but that's the starting place. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. These are labeled differently depending on what textbook you're using, but what's important is that the 3 and the 4 are top left, top left. So similarly, 5 and 6 are congruent, bottom right, bottom right. And then lastly, bottom left and bottom left, those are congruent. So these are the corresponding angles that you will see or need to know about. So let me know when you get that down, or if I can just move on, talk about a couple more things.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So let me go to the next grouping. So the next type of angles we might talk about are alternate exterior angles.
Mhm.
So, and these are also congruent, which means they're the same. So again, I'll draw two parallel lines. So angle 1 and angle 2 are considered alternate exterior angles. So I mentioned before, this region up above here and below here is the exterior.
Mhm.
Alternating, they alternate over the transversal, and they are congruent. So you'd write angle 1 is congruent to angle 2.
Mhm.
Similarly, this 3 and 4 are also congruent. So some instructors are very picky and particular about the wording. They're like, you must say what it is. It's an alternate interior, alternate exterior angles. Then that's why we're doing it this way.
Okay.
So let me know when you get all that down, and we can move on.
Okay.
Okay, so far of the three types that I've told you, actually there's one more I guess we need to bring up. So let's do this one. Vertical angles are congruent. So everything we've talked about today are congruences, and that's really important because after this, we're gonna talk about things that add up. But angle 1 and angle 2 are considered vertical angles, and they are congruent. So it's like they share this vertex, but they go in opposite directions. That's why they're congruent. 3 and 4, they're also vertical angles, and they are congruent. And you can similarly down here on the bottom one do the same thing. 5 and 6, those are congruent. 7 and 8, those are congruent as well. So what happens is it feels like there's a lot to remember. As you do a few problems, you realize, oh, they're either congruent or they add up to something. And that's what we're going to look at next, when the angles add up to something. So let me know when I can move past this.
Okay.
All right, so let me, so we're kind of transitioning now. It's okay. We're no longer going to talk about congruences. We're going to talk about two things. We're going to first talk about linear pairs. So linear pairs are when the angles add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to draw two parallel lines. I'm going to label this a little more standard. Okay. So linear pairs add up to 180 degrees. So for example, the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 adds up to 180 degrees. Okay, so if you can see that on the right here, that they're on this line that I'm drawing that is parallel. It actually has nothing to do with the fact that they're parallel, but this is part of this. They add to 180 degrees. Similarly, angles 3 and angle 4 are a linear pair. Okay, for the same reason. There's this line, and they're on that same side of the line. Now, it's also the case that angle 1 and angle 3 are a linear pair. They add up to 180 because this line that I'm showing here, kind of going up and to the right, they're on the same side of it. So those add up to 180 degrees. And for the same reason, angle 2 and angle 4 also add up to 180 degrees. So linear pairs, the main takeaway here is linear pairs means there's two angles and they always add up to 180 degrees.
I'm done.
Okay, fantastic. Now, the same thing applies down here to measure of angle 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, like the same relationships where you just switch, like 1 it goes with 5 and 2 goes with 6. Those also add up to 180, but we're not going to write those because it's the same idea. But is that clear that like 5 and 6 add up to 180, 5 and 7 add up to 180, 7 and 8 add up to 180, and 6 and 8 add up to 180?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, the last one, I know this feels like a lot, is the same side interior. Same side interior, they add up to 180 degrees. Okay. And see, it almost takes longer to explain all this than to do the problems because you're either setting the angles congruent or they add up to 180. But let me label this again. So in the beginning, I said the same side interior. The interior is this region in here with 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the same side is on one side of the transversal. So in this case, it means that the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 They are same side, but in the interior, they add up to 180 degrees. All right, and then the same thing applies to the other side. The measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 6 is 180 degrees.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. That's everything. Like if we were in a classroom, I would have done exactly this. And your 15-minute lecture, we're done because that's a lot to digest. But now we could do some problems. Do you have some for us to do? Do you want me to find some? What would be best for you?
I don't have any.
Okay, so let me look up a worksheet for this. And just to confirm, is this something you saw in class? Like, did you see all of this in class at some point in the last couple of days?
No, this from last semester. I just didn't get it.
Okay, got it. All right, well, let's do some problems. You'll see they're pretty basic. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do is to not just give me the answer, but we'll talk about why it's the right answer, meaning like which of those ones did I go through? Is it alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, vertical, and so on? Okay. Okay, so the first problem here, can you tell me what the measure of angle 1 is? Yes, go ahead and keep. You were about to say it, I think.
67.
67 degrees. Okay, now, why is the more important question? Do you know which of the ones that we have covered that it is?
Um,
And if you're not sure, I'll scroll up and show you.
no, I'm not sure.
Okay, so if we go back up to corresponding angles, the angles are corresponding. This is like 1 and 2. They're in the same relative position, top right, top right.
Mm-hmm.
So these are corresponding angles, and that's really the more important takeaway. So you were not covering this in the last few days in your class, is that right?
Yeah, because everything we're working on is like, it's just rotations and I have nothing else.
Okay. So let me just we'll do a few more problems, but we with other students I sometimes do SAT prep if we don't have something solid to work on. So I'll make that option available to you, but let's do a few more problems here before we jump to that. So here's a new problem. You don't really need to write these down. They take a lot of time to write down, but can you tell me what the measure of angle HJK is? So basically X, the value of X here.
142.
142. And what is the reason for that?
Because they're congruent.
They are congruent, but what is it that makes them congruent? And so your options are like alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles. Sorry, I can type these out. Corresponding or vertical. Those are the congruences.
Vertical.
So for example, J and X are vertical,
Mm-hmm.
but X and 142 are not vertical. That one's definitely out.
Okay.
So let's take a look back at corresponding. Corresponding is the big one. That's used a lot. If they're in the same relative position, like top left, bottom left, they are congruent. Bottom right, and so on. So when you look at the angles in your problem here, like I want you to see that X is bottom left and 142 is bottom left.
Okay.
Which makes them congruent by corresponding angles.
Okay, I think I get it.
Yeah, we're gonna do a few more here. Let me type out, we'll just treat this like multiple choice. So it's alternate interior angles. And then let me grab this one. No. Okay, copy, paste, paste. All right, so let me snip in a new problem for us to look at. Okay, so I want you to look at this problem here and tell me the value, the measure of angle 3. But more importantly, can you tell me which of these 4 is the reason why?
It's is it corresponding?
So for example, 3 corresponds to, I'll just put down here 4. Those would be corresponding. And 111 corresponds to top right up here in the second one. So like top right and top right, 3 bottom left, bottom left. Is that clear to you what I mean by like bottom left and top right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it the exterior?
So these are both currently in the interior.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Sorry.
they alternate over the transversal.
I don't think I wrote that one down.
Okay, so that was actually the very first one. Let's go back up to it right here. This is the picture. If you don't have that down, be good to
Okay, I got
get
it.
that down.
Okay.
Shoot, sorry. Okay, let me find a few more of these preliminary problems for us to look at before we jump into more complicated ones. Okay, so I apologize. We should have done something different to start out. So let's do that here. I think this will help you doing it this way. All right, so here is 2 parallel lines. They are cut by a transversal. Okay, and they give you one of the angles. They tell you this top right one is 140. Okay, now I'm going to label the other angles with numbers, and we can go in any direction you want. Like you can tell me to go to angle 4 or angle 1 or angle 3 or really any of them, but I want you to go back to your notes, meaning like either alternate interior or corresponding or alternate exterior. Probably corresponding is the best one to start with, but I'd like you to look at those notes and tell me using corresponding which angle you can find next.
Can I see the alternate exterior note?
Sure. Let's get that down. Here we go. Here we go. And I'm still going to send this to you at the end, but it's good to get down in your notes as well.
Okay. What was the name of the first one? Alternate interior?
Yeah, let's just start from the beginning here. So here's the first grouping that they sometimes show you: alternate interior angles.
Okay, that was all I needed.
Okay, so let's go back to this new problem. And what I'd like you to do is use your corresponding angles and tell me what angles you can find that are corresponding. What angle corresponds to the 140? Is it 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8? Which one corresponds to the 140?
1.
So the corresponding is the same relative position. So see how this is top right, the 140. So we're looking for the one that's top right. So which of these 4 down here are top right?
Mm,
Is it
5.
5, 6, 7, or 8?
5.
So it's got to be on the right. It's got to
Oh,
be,
sorry.
and then top and bottom, you can think of top, bottom. So it would be 6. So 6 is 140 by corresponding.
Okay.
All right, so now I want you to use your alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. So
Okay.
that means you're looking in the interior now. You're looking at 3, 4, 5, and 140. Which angle measure is also 140 by alternate interior angles?
4.
So 4 is same side. If
Oh,
you go back to alternate interior angles, boy, this is I think a bad limitations, but it alternates over the transversal. Now sometimes the transversal goes that other direction, but it's still true that the ones that alternate over the transversal in the interior are congruent. So like 3 and 4 are congruent, 1 and 2 are congruent, meaning like this one alternates over into this other position. If that's still not clear, we can try another problem here. Maybe it will be.
no, I got it. It's
Okay.
3.
Yes, angle 3 is 140 degrees. Good. Now, do you see now that the 140 top right and the 140 bottom left are vertical angles?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that angle 7 is also 140 degrees by vertical angles. So you actually could have found this one on the bottom left first. You could have said, oh, Matthew, like this one down here, 3, it's 140 because this one top right is 140, vertical angles makes 140. So you can actually go in any direction you want with how to find them. Okay. Now let's figure out measure of angle 1 next. So measure of angle 1 and the 140 make a linear pair. That means they add up to 180. So the measure of angle 1 plus this 140 here make a linear pair. What would the measure of angle 1 be as a result of that?
141 equals.
You're solving this equation like treat this as an x. X plus 140 equals 180.
40.
Yes. So this one on the top left here is 40 degrees. Now notice that 40 degrees plus the 140 below it also adds up to
180.
180. Yeah. So you could have done it that way as well. What is the measure of angle 4 down here, bottom right?
From the 40.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah, I would. There's many ways now to get it. So what? I just want the numerical value now.
40.
40. Yeah, because it's a vertical angle with the one on the top left, 40 and 40. Or you could have said, oh, Matthew, it's 140 plus 40 gets me to 180. That would have also been good.
Okay.
Okay, there's many different ways to find the answer that are all they're all good. Okay, now let's go down here to angle 5. Can you tell me the measure of angle 5?
40.
40. And then how about the measure of angle 8?
40.
Yeah. So if you know, you probably noticed there's a lot of duplication. It's either 40 or 140, 40 or 40 or 140, and so on. That is always the case. So we're going to do another problem now. But that's super important that you recognize that, like, whenever you get the other number, you're just going to be replicating it all over. It's just, you got to figure out which number goes where.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a look at a new problem here. So let me label the angles again so that I know which one you're referring to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. Okay. Now you can go off in any direction you want. You can use vertical angles, corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, whatever you want. But I want you to tell me which one of these other angle measures, now that you know that this one is 50.
7 is 50.
Good.
1 is 50.
Okay. Measure of angle 1 is, it is not 50. It is not 50.
Oh, was it 3?
So 3 is an alternate interior angle, and it is 50. Yes.
And then 2 is 50.
Okay. Very good. Sorry, 50, not 150. Okay. Now you've gotten all the ones that are 50. How are you going to find the other ones?
Subtract 50 from 180.
Okay. So
One,
give me, so which angle is 130?
5,
Yep, 5 is 130.
8,
8 is 130.
1,
Also 130.
4.
Yeah. Okay. You ready to try one on your own?
Yeah.
I can tell this is pretty exciting. Once you get this down, it will be just very, very straightforward for you. So, all right. Please give this one a try. And if you have questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. But take a look, and I'll just when you're done, I'll write down the correct answers, and you can tell me if you got the same thing.
I'm done.
Great. So the first angle I might find is probably angle 1, which is also 78 degrees. And then angle 5 is 78 degrees by alternate interior angles, which then allows me to find angle 8, which is also 78 degrees by vertical angles. So there's always kind of this pattern here that you'll see. And then the hardest one is probably to find one of the other ones there. I'll do angle 2. The two angles have to add up to 180, 102 degrees, and that's the other angles there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now the only other question that you might see that could be unclear is one like this, where the vertical lines are going in a different direction than you're used to. If you so you would have seen a problem like this in your classroom. Okay. Now, one of the solutions to working on a problem like this, and I'm trying to do this in another window here, is actually to rotate the paper. I'm trying to rotate the image. Why can't I rotate it? Anyway, don't try to move your head. That would cause your neck to get achy. But if it's an issue, you can do that. But it's still the same thing in terms of like how you do it. You first probably go vertical angles to find that one's 92 degrees, and then you use alternate interior to tell that the next one down here is 92 degrees, and then vertical angles to find 92 degrees, and then similarly, you find the other one with the fact that they add up to 180. Any questions on that? Are you okay if we move on to some other questions, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the other worksheet, and the main thing with these is not just that you can give me the answer, it's that you know why they're congruent or why they add up to 180. And so, because there's really only two possibilities, they're either congruent or they add up to 180. And you could guess, but I don't want you to do that. I'd like you to know for sure. So this new problem here, 3x plus 23 degrees and 4x degrees, are they congruent or do they add up to 180?
Congruent.
They are congruent. Now, can you tell me which one of the four reasons for why they are congruent from this list here? Let's grab this down.
What?
Sorry, let me go try that one more time. Yeah, so which of this list is it? Are they alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or vertical angles?
They are. Corresponding.
They're corresponding, okay? So the next thing here is to set the two equations equal to one another and to solve for x. So if we're starting the year out, I would say this is why you learned your algebra, to be able to solve an equation like this. You subtract 3x from both sides and you get that 23 equals x. This is not the answer though. Like if it asked for x, like if it said, what's x? You would be done. You'd say, oh, x is 23, but they don't want x. They want the measure of angle ABC. Like they want this angle measure here. So you have to put that value of x back into one equation or the other. So to find the measure of angle ABC, you're going to take 4 and multiply it by 23, which is 92 degrees.
I was kind of confused on the last part. The 4 parentheses.
Sure.
22.
Yeah, so let me just clear out some of this stuff. So they want the measure of angle A, B, C, A to B to C. So they want the measure of A to B to C. They want this angle right here that I'm showing in green. And we don't know what that is, but it's not 23. It's 4x. This measure of angle ABC is 4x degrees.
Okay.
And you know x now, so you're like, oh, I'll just multiply by 23 and that's my answer. So it is very common the case that you find x and then you use x to calculate the angle, to determine the angle.
Okay.
Any questions on this? Because I want to give you one just like it with different numbers, different equations, but have you solve it. Anything about this you'd like me to explain again?
No.
Okay. So we'll do this in steps here. This is a really similar problem. I want you to first solve for X. If you have questions, please let me know.
Mm, what the heck? $25?
Yes, the answer is X is 25 degrees. Very good. Now the question actually wants you to find the measure of angle MPQ. Okay, is it clear which one that is? Is it the 5X or is it the 3X?
3x plus 50.
Okay, so I want you to put that 25 back into that equation and give me the answer there, please.
$125?
It is 125 degrees. Very good. Okay, is that a difficult problem to do?
No.
It's not. Once you kind of like, okay, it's this or this, I get it. Now, where they become slightly more complicated is when they add up to 180. Okay, so let's look at a new problem here. So in this problem, I'm going to highlight the angle measures 3n minus 47 and n plus 7. These are considered same side interior. Okay, and they are not congruent. They add up to 180 degrees, which means you have to write an equation. You have to write 3n minus 47 plus n plus 7 equals 180.
Okay.
So there, it's not just, oh, let's just set them equal. Sometimes when you set them equal, you get an answer and you think it's right, but this is the case. They are same side interior because they're on the same side and they're in the interior. So they add up to 180. So what I'd like you to do is to solve this equation for n and let me know what you come up with, please. How are you doing on this one?
I didn't get like fully done yet, but
Okay. So I'm just going to jump in here. N 3n plus 1n is 4n. Minus 47 plus 7 is minus 40 equals 180. And then you would add 40 to both sides. So that's 4n equals 220. Divide by 4, divide by 4. And you end up getting that n is 55. Okay. Now again, this is not the correct answer. This is just a intermediate answer. And it might look like it's correct, but really you've got to be careful when you answer these. So to find the measure of angle ABC, you have to put it back into 3n minus 47. So there's a bit more work to do. 3 times 55 minus 47. If you got a calculator, you could do this by hand. You've got 165 minus 47, or 118 degrees. Different than the last problems, though, you couldn't choose which one to put it in. You couldn't say, oh, let me put it in n plus 7. And that's because they're not congruent. You have to be very clear which one you're substituting it back into.
okay.
So go ahead and get this down, or let me know if you've already got it down. Want to again say thank you for scheduling. Looking forward to helping you again this semester. I am offering an SAT ACT prep class starting next week. Is the official start date. This week's going to be like a preview week. I'm going to have it on Saturday. If you're interested, I could send over a link to that. It's totally free to start out. I'm also curious if you'd be more interested in like 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. For that class. If you know, you don't have to commit to anything right now.
Okay.
All right, well, that is it for us for today. I'll send over the notes here shortly, and I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week. Bye now.